Mr. Nick Garrett is familiar to many of you involved with the music community of Calvert County. He has a story of perseverance and success to share with you this evening. Please welcome Mr. Nick Garrett of Garrett's Music Academy.
I want to let you know first how absolutely honored I am to be here tonight, and I hope after what I have to tell you, you'll understand why we have a connection. I'm also very happy, just to be selfish real quick, my wife is here tonight. We work together, so normally if I'm out somewhere, she's got to be at the office and vice versa, so that makes me happy. I'm honored to be here with so many dignitaries and with all of you, the graduates. I'm very happy to say that many of you are friends. Well, at least I like many of you. As said, my name is Nick Garrett, and I own the Garrett Music Academy with my wife, which I opened in 2004 after about a 5-year stint as a touring musician and recording artist. I was fortunate to see a lot of the country while touring, and made enough money to live on, and had a hit song on the radio called Calvert. You can buy it on iTunes. Or from me on my car after this event. I'm just kidding. But really, meet me at my car. We're musicians, we're always prepared. Now, I enjoyed all the trappings of living the rock star life, but there was just something special about teaching that I fell in love with instantly. And it motivated me to learn. And even though it took me years, many, many years to get good at it, both teaching and learning, it motivated me to get together, go to college, get a job. I became obsessed with reading everything I could get my hands on. In fact, I also happen to be a published author. My first book, Lovely Day for a Rock Song, was picked up by Barclay Bryan in 2008. And I've had my music lessons and lectures filmed and distributed by recorded books through public libraries nationwide. I've also written guitar method books that are used in a lot of the county public and private schools. In fact, I laugh when I come to Huntington High School because in 2009 alone, I came here 4 different times to teach 4 different classes: music, accounting, principles, business, and archaeology. And after a while, the secretaries just kind of got like, who are you here for again today? I'm sorry. In addition to my work in music, I'm active in politics, although I should say in the presence of those that have earned votes by seats, I'm active from the community perspective. I'm a political columnist for the Chesapeake Current and South County Gazette. I sit on the board of trustees for our Calvert County Public Libraries, and I was also chairman of Calvert's Tourism Commission, sat on the Juvenile Drug Court Steering Committee, and received a commendation from Governor O'Malley for recommendations made to his statewide Teen Driving Safety Initiative in 2008. I was a member of the Calvert County Arts Council years ago, and now I'm a member of the Southern Maryland Action Coalition. I volunteer with groups and organizations in my community, and I was also legislative aide for State Senator Roy Dyson for several years. Most recently, I graduated from the Leadership Southern Maryland class of 2010. Now, if you're anything like me, you're a little irritated by what sounds like bragging, but it's not. Today is about you. And I'm simply trying to set the stage for an important message. You know, I'm going to stand up here and tell you that education is important. Just like that voice and everything. And just like an after-school special, I'm going to say, you can be anything you want to be if you just pick yourself up and go for it. Those things are true, but that's not what I have to say tonight. There are a few last things you should know about me before we move on. I'm also a high school dropout. I was fired and quit almost 7 different jobs before settling on a path. I was kicked out of my house at 18 for the 2nd time due to my own choices, and was homeless and living in my truck on several different occasions while building my career in music and kicking some pretty nasty habits. I was fired from my first job for stealing and spent more of my late teen years skipping school than going. So when I graduated from Leadership Southern Maryland this May and walked the stage to get my certificate, I'm sure that the politicians, community leaders, and military brass didn't look at me and go, oh, well, wow, this is the only time he's ever graduated from anything. So now that we have that cleared up, how do we get in our lives from point A to whatever point B is for us? Education is the key to a successful life. Let me repeat that. Education is the key to a successful life. Now let's define that. Structured or not, history or physics, if you're interested in something, immerse yourself in it. If you're passionate about cooking, electronics, or law, go do it. It's that easy. There are still places on the globe, right now, where someone's being forced to do the bidding of another because of the color of their skin or the religion that they happen to practice. But in this country, we can wake up tomorrow and do whatever we want to do, and no one will stop us, except ourselves. Age is not a factor. I was 23 when I started my music school. Whether we're men or women are not factors. The color of our skin is increasingly becoming less and less of a factor. Truth? Keep in mind that Martin Luther King was in his early 20s when he started his civil rights career. And keep in mind that 18 and 19-year-olds fought the American Revolution for us, marching over thousands of miles, starving 3/4 of the time. How do we know? Joseph Plum Martin, a man who was self-educated, left us his story of what it was like to be a soldier in the American Revolution day after day. I can stand in front of you today with certainty at age 30 and tell you education is what has made my life what it is and continues to do it. That's proof, straight proof. Let me tell you, if I can, you can. Now, education does not mean structure. Think about John Marshall, one of the greatest, if not the greatest Supreme Court justices in our nation's history. A Federalist who continued to serve as Chief Judge almost 25 years after his political party was dead. John Marshall, the man who established judicial review and the judge who decided Marbury versus Madison. For us non-nerds in the room, those are important things. The only form, he was homeschooled. He was one of 9 children, homeschooled, and the only formal education he ever had was one set of lectures from John Wythe at William and Mary College. And what about our founding fathers, Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Hamilton? This is a speech, I'm supposed to quote them, right? But today we're going to make an example of them instead. These are some of the most educated men in our history, a mix of self-education and classroom, real-life experience and trial and error. We painted George Washington on the ceiling as the great Cincinnatus. But the example is that you and I are them. Because just like all of us, they too have another side. In reality, these men drank too much. They fought, they gambled. They looked out for their self-interest. Thomas Jefferson, a slave owner, had a lifelong love affair with an African-American woman. Think about the time period of that. John Adams, while in the Continental Congress, agreed to leave slavery intact and turn a blind eye, as long as South Carolina would agree to sign on that dotted line to gain independence from Britain. Not a very nice thing. The point is not to pull down our public officials. You'll see where we're getting with that. Alexander Hamilton cheated on his wife so many times that he had to issue a public apology in the newspaper. That's like the Twitter of the day. And Helen Keller, the great heroine of Braille, showed us that with fortitude, no matter what our hindrance is, with education, humans can accomplish anything. She was also one of the most active members of the Communist Party ever in America. Imagine what would have happened to us if these great leaders let their mistakes define them. We can do great things no matter what. What all of these people and us have in common is that we're all humans, wrought with insecurities. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we succeed. We have a variety of educational backgrounds, but we are all capable of achieving the heights of whatever we choose, mistakes and all, if we choose education as the center of our life. Confucius in 5th or 6th century China knew this. To him, life was education. He spent years pondering it. And when he finally rose to political office, he was made governor of Lu by a warlord leader named Du Ding. And Du Ding was one of Confucius' students. And you have to understand, in China at this time, there was so much unrest. And Confucius guided Du Ding along in a new way of thinking. And eventually the warlord said, hey, we'll get him. And they sent 3 pretty ladies as a gift. And they kind of got him off the path of Confucian leadership. But Lu, for Confucius, may represent the only time in world history where government was close to perfect. There was relatively no poverty. People were civic-minded. They were educated. There was good infrastructure, fair taxes, all of the above. What's the point? This is me and you. Education is the common denominator. And secondly, if we learn from our mistakes instead of letting them define us, We join the ranks of the few, successful. Learn from mistakes, don't let them define us. We can really appreciate what humans accomplish when we take them and ourselves off the pedestal of perfection. Then George Washington, the man, was the founder of our country. And Thomas Jefferson, the slave owner, was the man who drafted the document that would one day lead to equality for all of us. And Martin Luther King would write a document that would change lives forever. The man from a jail cell wrote a document that would change life forever. It breaks down barriers. It lifts up the weak. It crushes poverty. It smacks down inequality, and it unifies like nothing else. As we come to the end of our conversation, let me share a few final things with you. Teaching at the Music Academy is a rewarding job, and it has truly been a passion that I'm blessed to do each day. But not a day goes by that there's not books in my hands. Because if I have learned one thing, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. That is where power is born, and that is where leaders rise. Never has there been a more important time for us to educate ourselves, because we are needed out there today. Your stories are no different from mine. Your accomplishments are greater. Proof we're here together today. Please know that it's been my honor to be with you, sincerely. We have something else in common. The world is ours. That sounds cliche, but it's true. And even though it's never easy, there's a sense of accomplishment in the everyday that we do. So if we do it right, please recognize that this is not the end of a journey. This is the starting line. This is the beginning. Now, in closing, after discussing Confucius, the Supreme Court, George Washington, all the nation's founders, and all this education, as a music teacher, let's close it out with this ever-important quote by Miley Cyrus. There's always going to be another mountain. I'm always going to want to make it move. It's always going to be an uphill battle. Sometimes I'm going to have to lose. But it's not about how fast I get there. It's not about what's waiting on the other side. It's the climb. It's the climb. Thank you, and congratulations.